Christopher Bell has kept Kyle Busch from winning 2 of the last 5 races at the Circuit of the Americas. After Sunday, make 3. And this time, Busch has had enough. He's seeking payback and lashed out at Bell following the race at COTA. Should Busch have won? And did Bell break the line, overtaking and bumping him? Unlike the previous 2 occasions that Bell exposed Busch to the finer aspects of the COTA turf, this time it was done cleanly. There was no collision or drama, just a well-timed move with 5 laps remaining. He even brought William Byron, last year's COTA winner, along for the ride, resulting in a 4-car wreck with Busch and pole-sitter Tyler Reddick in the closing laps. However, a few circuits before his passing move, he nearly knocked Busch off the road. Busch, who led the most laps of the day, 42, must have felt like he was watching his wallet disappear into a crowded subway. His car eventually faded from contention, leaving Bell, Byron, and Reddick to compete. In the end, Bell finished .4, 3 seconds ahead of Byron. The Joe Gibbs Racing driver became the first to win back-to-back races in the opening 3 races of a season since 2018, following a last-lap robbery in Atlanta the previous week. "Whenever Kyle was leading, I was just trying to be so cautious," Bell said. "Obviously, we know what happened last year. I didn't want that to happen. I wanted to pass him clean. He was just doing such a good job at running his race, and he could get off the corners just good enough that I couldn't get inside of him. But there I started peeking a nose and he bobbled and allowed me to get out front. Whenever I did, I'm like, okay, just don't beat yourself. Those were about the 5 or 6 sloppiest laps I've ever run." If there were any leftover doubts about NASCAR's decision to remove a mile from the COTA track, the final 10 laps should allay them. It turns out that short is better. Bell's decision to stay out 1 lap longer than Busch at the final pit stop gave him just enough fresher tires to capture the lead, and eventually, his first COTA triumph. "I just wish that maybe we had equal tires to the number 20, Christopher Bell," Busch said. "I don't know if that was all the difference. I know he was really fast and he had a good race car. I feel like that might have been able to help hold me on a little bit better to him, but even that last yellow flag that we had, I felt like the gap that I had to the field, I was far enough out front that I could run the clean lines, the lines that I wanted, to preserve the tires and take care of them as much as I could to see if he could get there. But once we had that yellow, then it was just defensive mode. You're in complete and utter just beat the heck out of the tires at that point, and I just didn't have it over the number 20. Reddick finished 3rd behind Byron, while Chase Elliott finished 4th following a remarkable comeback. As for Busch, he finished 5th, extending his winless streak to a painful 60 races. Next stop, Phoenix Raceway. Who is the defending winner? Christopher Bell. Can he do 3 in a row? We'll have to wait and see, but betting against him right now would be insane. "We didn't count last week," Bell clarified. "Last week was a speedway. We didn't have that one circled. We definitely had this one circled. I'm ready to keep adding to it." However, Busch may seek vengeance next week. Kyle Busch pushed hard for the win at the Echo Park Automotive Grand Prix at COTA on Sunday, but he came up short, finishing 5th. The fans, on the other hand, found his race with Christopher Bell down the stretch enthralling. Busch had to cope with a late caution, which reduced his lead dramatically and allowed Bell to come into position to overtake. Bell attempted to do so, but crashed with Busch's car, resulting in damage. Kyle Busch was displeased with that after the race. "That was it on pushing the car," Busch said, according to Brett Winningham of Speedway Digest. "I just wish we had equal tires to the 20. Once we had that yellow, you're just in defense mode. Hated the contact in 2 and 3 bent the toe link." Busch's late mistake cost him his first Cup Series victory in 59 races, a historic streak that is getting increasingly difficult to maintain. But Busch ran an excellent race as long as his equipment held up. To his credit, Kyle Busch applauded Bell for running it cleanly and not attempting a takeout. Finally, he told the Athletics' Jeff Gluck that the caution flag was the difference. Although he was friendly to Bell, he was not so nice to NASCAR, causing additional issues. This time, there are track limits. So, if you ignore the general track limit uncertainty at the start of Stage 2, Sunday's Echo Park Automotive Grand Prix at COTA was relatively uncontroversial. Kyle Busch did not forget, and after the race, he chastised NASCAR for not understanding its own rules. "I heard they were going to police turns 4, 5, and 6, and then it turned into 3, 4, 5, and yesterday it was only 4 and 5. They ain't got a clue," Busch said. After Stage 1, Busch reported on his radio that he had seen drivers like as Shane Van Gisbergen regularly cutting the track in Turn 6. During Stage 1, no drivers were penalized for cutting the course at Turn 6. Why was it the case? NASCAR informed teams that they would only enforce track limits in Turns 3, 4, and 5. NASCAR informed Richard Childress Racing that Turn 6 was wide open for shortening the course. NASCAR told drivers in the pre-race meeting, "Vehicles must run the full course at all times. You will be judged as missing or shortcutting when all 4 tires are on the non-track side of the red and white rumble strips that define the apex of the turns," per Jeff Gluck. Gluck also indicated that there was no discussion at the drivers' meeting about which turns would be officiated. Kyle Larson was hit shortly after Stage 2 began, and drivers were warned of NASCAR's updated track limitation rule. Larson was fined for violating Turn 3. When Larson received the penalty, he stated, "I didn't know they were calling 3. When asked if NASCAR should reduce track limits at COTA, Busch answered forcefully, "No. No, because then you'll just straight shot Turn 3 all the way to Turn 6. Don't do that. No, you got to have track limits," Busch said. "We need to be a professional racing league that knows how to handle it professionally on a racetrack." You look at Formula 1, V8 Supercar, and who the hell else that races road course racing, and they all have track limits, and they all obey the track. I don't think Turn 6 was policed very well today, so we all just started taking advantage of it and running through the dirt. What are your opinions about the race, and specifically the Busch race? Do you understand his criticism and anger? Although Busch did not get his wish, the Echo Park Automotive Grand Prix at COTA on Sunday made NASCAR Cup Series history with a thrilling race in which Christopher Bell triumphed. Bell was untouchable in the final stretch, winning back-to-back Cup Series championships for the first time since 2023. What's even more amazing is that he did it in one of the most competitive fields in road course racing history. According to NASCAR Insights, the race at COTA saw 20 total lead changes. This was tied for the most on a road course in Cup Series history, along with 1980 Riverside and 1970 Riverside. The lead changed hands several times in the closing stretch, but Bell eventually passed Kyle Busch and held on to win over William Byron and Tyler Reddick. Busch had a sizable lead over Bell with a few laps remaining when disaster struck. Following a crash involving Denny Hamlin and Austin Dillon outside a turn, Bell was able to close in on the restart, putting him in a position to strike. When Bell attempted the pass at COTA to take the lead, he initially made contact with Busch's car from door to door. Busch's toe link bent as a result, and his car was never the same down the stretch, completely worn out. Busch's late mistake cost him his first Cup Series victory in 59 races, a historic streak that is getting increasingly difficult to maintain. But Busch ran an excellent race as long as his equipment held up. Bell was only slightly superior at COTA on Sunday, but he managed to secure another hard-fought victory. What are your thoughts on the race? Did you enjoy it?